Okay, welcome to another episode of Audiovisual Cultures with me, Paula Blair. Today I have the really great pleasure of being joined from Germany by Lars Henriks and Nisan Arakan to talk about the new Hamburg School of Filmmaking. We're going to talk about your filmmaking collaborations and maybe a bit about your underground film festival. But first, Nisan and Lars, could I ask you each to tell us a bit about yourselves, give us a bit of an introduction to you?
Okay, I
Sure.
start? Okay. Hi, my name is Nisan Arikan. I'm originally from Turkey. I live in Germany since I was 10 years old, so it's now for 20 years. I studied acting in Hamburg with Lars together when I was 17, and then I started working as an actor here in Germany. But I wanted to do more independent, unique stuff I would like to watch. And I was kind of stuck in the German film industry as the Turkish Muslim roles to play, and the system is for actors who are not exactly white, frustrating. And so I wanted to do my own stuff. I still work as an actress here. I mean, now during Corona, it's almost impossible, but I never stopped working as an actor because I need to pay my rent. But but at the year 2016, I think we met again. So we knew each other when we were 17. Then for a long time we haven't seen each other, and then we re-met. And he had a similar story. But he should tell himself. He also started as an actor and was frustrated by the industry. So, and you should tell yourself your own story. But we started to make independent movies together, which are more unique, not so mainstream, not so German typical at all. And yeah, I'm really happy about that.
All right. I'm Lars Henriks. I'm an actor and filmmaker from Hamburg. I met Nisan when we were 17 and studied acting here in Hamburg. And I've always wanted to become a filmmaker. I've always wanted to become a director, but I didn't do that great in school. So I was told you can be an actor, but you can't be a director, because for that you would have to go to university, and you would need whatever, better grades. And then I went to university to study acting when I was 17. And after that, I directed a play, and then I started making short films with other acting students and film students. And out of that grew some kind of a production collective. I made my first couple of no-budget feature films. I think I started in 2013. I landed a leading role in the Australian teenager sitcom In Your Dreams. It's on YouTube. Go watch it. And after that, like that was like a really big set. So I was for 2 years every day on this big €1 million budget set, and I thought, all right, I can emulate these processes without the money. And we started doing that in 2013 when I made my feature debut, Why Hans Wagner Hates the Starry Sky. Whatever. Wasn't that good. It's okay, actually. It's okay. Then after I made that, I met other Hamburg-based independent no-budget filmmakers, because that was right around the time when equipment for like consumer grade prices would start to come up that was able to produce images and sound that were fit for cinemas. So for the first time, like, cinema level film production became achievable for everyone, and there were a couple of people who started doing that in Hamburg, namely the director Christian Grundei, and director Tommy
Kessler.
Tommy Kessler. Bad with names, even though those are collaborators of quite some years. Really embarrassing. Sorry, Tommy. No, but then we us three came together, and we first founded the Obsessive Underground Film Festival in Hamburg that focused on these kinds of movies that would untypically for German movies be very. They would be mostly genre movies, not exactly the way genre usually works. Like we were all genre bending and experimenting and stuff because we didn't have monetary restrictions. We could just do whatever we wanted because there was no money to be lost because it was all no budget. But yeah, it was like German film usually isn't genre adjacent. So we did that. Did that for a couple of years, and then then we re-met and we made a movie together in which for the first time Christian Grundei, who co-founded the festival, other director, was he was the DOP on that movie.
And so many other stuff. He did the costumes with me.
Yeah.
And he organized people who could like the sound guy, and he made set designs.
Yeah, we became like a three people, like a punk band making movies.
Yeah.
And then we made that, and then Nisan had the idea to submit it via Film Freeway. That's an online platform to film festivals all around the world. Then we got invited. Then we traveled to all these places, and we kept making movies. Actually, getting some budgets, getting the movies released for the first time. So that's all Nisan's work, and she also then took over organizing the film festivals together with me and Christian, and then people from the US came and from Belgium and from all over Europe, and it was great.
Wonderful. What a comprehensive introduction to both of you and all the things you've been working on. Thank you so much. And there's a huge amount there, I think, for us to start to go and look at in a bit more detail. I mean, first of all, I just want to thank you both so much for doing this with such impeccable English, because I have no German, so I feel very inadequate right now as a horrible British person who can't speak any other languages very well. So just thank you on the top for that. You've been doing a really impressive amount of work, and I love the way you describe this as the three of you a bit like a punk band making movies, and that was something I really wanted to pick up on. I think I feel perhaps a lot of empathy with that, because a lot of podcasters like me, it feels very DIY and on the hoof and very punk as well, and it's the technology that's allowing us finally to do that, because like yourselves, I never would have broken into radio by myself or filmmaking by myself, so this gives me a way of doing it. So I'd love really to hear a bit more detail about that, if you're happy to go into that a bit more.
Yeah,
sure. Nisan?
Should we start with I don't know, Leon or?
Well, yeah, okay. So as I said before, yeah, I think that DIY culture in general is right now at a place where it's never been before, because the sound equipment too has come such a long way. I mean, I know of professional film production that gets dubbed via WhatsApp voice message, which isn't ideal. But people don't notice, because even in your phone you have such high-grade microphones by now. I remember when I actually did have a punk band when we were first starting out, and we were 13 in our what do you call it, in our rehearsal room, and we wanted to record ourselves, and it was a real hassle. And we had like these we had to carry these huge computers, like a Windows 98 tower PC to that room and set it all up, and then we had one crappy microphone that and you couldn't even really make out what you were listening to when you were listening to it. And I don't think that's a thing that new bands really have to fight with in in that way, because everything is now capable of really empowering you to produce good things. And I think because in film, all kinds of media sort of comes together. Like you need great sound equipment, you need great the capacity of great sound production. You need to make a soundtrack, so music is in there too. Then you need a good camera, you need good images. So all of this sort of comes together, and I think it hasn't been possible for a long time to make something that can on some level compete with what you can put out with a lot of money behind it. It is, I think still you can't really compete. It's still everything we do is great for the tiny amount it costs, but I guess you will be able to make out a difference. But it's very, very different to what it was like in the 90s. It doesn't look like it's shot on video. It looks like it's shot for cinema, because we shoot in the same kind of format. And I think that's I think we're living in a really interesting time, because for filmmaking and every other type of media, it hasn't been possible before. And I think music, as usual, has been ahead of the revolution. Like we've seen all these DIY acts come up and really make the big time really quickly. SoundCloud has been a thing in this way, and film is always a little behind because it's a little bit more complicated. But I hope it's coming. We've been doing it for almost 10 years now. We've been looking for people all over the world who would do the feature film thing this way. And I mean, in the US, there has been the mumblecore wave already. And I think it's a thing that still is in its infancy, but it's coming. And I hope there's going to be more punk band type production. We're not a company, but what are we?
Collective.
Production collectives coming up. Yeah. I mean, I think DIY can be very frustrating. But it's also very, very rewarding when you watch something and you know everything on screen was me. Yeah.
So, sorry, Nisan, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah.
I'm not sure, because you told already all the important stuff, and I think what I'm also proud of is that we started really little with. I mean, you did other movies before. I don't want to take credit for that. He started before me, but when we did our first movie together, which was Leon Must Die, which you can watch on Amazon Prime. We just did it. We just showed a feature movie in the park. Sometimes I think we had like 3 locations, which was in the flat of the main actor, and the park, and I think the what's Keller in
the basement
the basement of a friend. So, and it was really little, but we were creative, and the movie was ironical, and Lars, me and Christian, we did like everything together. And I don't know, it was really great after the Film Freeway tour that the movie went to Vietnam, to a festival in Vietnam, to the States, and we also went to America, in Sanford, Maine, and also in UK. We were in the Derby Film Festival, and that was really great. So then we did this DIY thing again. With a little more budget this time. We worked for an acting school, and we worked with their students on a movie together, based on their character wishes. So because Lars and me, we are also from the acting department, so we could work with that, and we are making films, we could work with that. So the second movie we did together was also on many festivals and was sorry, how do you say entdecken? His English is better than
It
mine.
was discovered.
It was discovered from a release a Blu-ray releaser.
Oh yes, got released in the US.
Yes.
It's behind us.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
On Blu-ray. Yeah.
As a rest cinema. So I was really proud of that and really happy about it. The second movie is about 7 girls in the forest and in a maybe cursed forest. So it's kind of fantastical, but very subtle. And it was the first time for us that we worked with an ensemble, and those were like 7 girls who were like in their 20s,
Early 20s.
early 20s.
They were just finishing drama school. They were
Not so easy, but it was fun, and it was also for us. We learned a lot to work with a big group, and then we did the same thing with the acting school with another big group, and then we made a really big project which like killed us almost, and it's not finished yet. We made a series which will be about 7 to 8 episodes, and we're working on the releasement right now. And what I'm really proud of is that you can see the development from the first movie we did together to the series which we will publish this year.
this year. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
This series, by the way, is another really great example of like the series we did would not ever exist without the new kinds of DIY techniques that are out there. When we first came up with it and pitched it, all those German production companies would go, "Oh yeah, that's really interesting. That sounds cool. Send us the scripts." Then we sent the scripts, and then people would say, wait, now we weren't involved in developing the scripts. Now we don't want it anymore." Then we would go to distributors who would say, "Oh yeah, right, cool. Go shoot it. Bring us the finished product." Then we had to shoot it by ourselves, and we thought we would get help in post-production. But when we went back to the same people or to production houses, they would say, "Well, it's shot now. We got nothing to do with it now." So now we're doing all the post-production by ourselves too, which we are only capable of doing because of all the projects before that, and because of all the software available and hardware available. So we will actually be able to finish it and put it out there. But I guess only 10, 15 years ago, were we in the same situation that we are in now, the project would be dead. It would be completely tanked. That's another thing where we are lucky while having bad luck with the timing.
Yes. It's a tremendous amount of work that you're all doing by yourselves. You're all having these multiple production roles in front of and behind the camera so often. It must be a lot, but I mean, you must be all skilled to the max by this point as well. You must really know your stuff.
We are really lucky to have Christian, who is like our technician daddy. So like we always ask him how to do this and that. And
I mean, every time when we do something, I guess it's because you're so into the production yourself. Like when I watch a thing that we've just been doing, I see the seams. I see everything that's wrong with it.
Yeah.
And then when
and
then I always think, oh wow, I can't do anything. All of these things we did, I suck at them. And then I watch it 2 years later, and I think, well, no, there's nothing really wrong with it. That's fine.
Same, yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah, you become a bit less hard on yourself, and you know how difficult it all was. I was wondering as well. I mean, there's still a lot for us to get to, but I was wondering that trying to push a new mode of filmmaking in Germany must be a really tall order, because there's such a history in German cinema from the very start of, so German Expressionism because and this is something that feeds Hollywood with all the emigre directors who go there, and it becomes really global. And then with New German cinema, you've got filmmakers like Wim Wenders or Rainer Werner Fassbinder, and I suppose anyone who's a cinephile will know those names, for example. So it must be a really tall order to try and push a movement or create a movement that is different to those, that's distinctive from those, but it's true to yourselves, and it maybe speaks to new contemporary younger generations. I mean, is that something you're trying to do, or is it something that you're wanting to move away from or reacting against? How do you feel about that?
Should I answer you first? You first.
I answer because every time when you answer, you already say everything I wanted to say. Honestly, with me, it's my first aim was when I was doing this indie kind of movies and or events. I also joined the Obsessive Underground Festival. First of all, I wanted to do something I really care about. Why I wanted to become an artist, because you kind of lose it if you are, well, I only speak to myself. I kind of started to losing it while I was in the industry, because it's not so creative and artsy as you imagine, as I imagined. It was lots of typecasting, as I told, and lots of about small talks, networking, and waiting for the phone to ring. And when the phone rang, then you got the role for a project you wouldn't even watch, And so that was the first thing. And then I just wanted to fulfill myself. So then I really cared about these projects which we made. So the first aim I accomplished. And the second aim was to change something here in the industry, or to enrich it, if there's a word like that, which was also for our less serious, for example, great that by then we made all these other projects, because we could use, we have like hundreds of different locations, for example, in the series, because we knew by then so many people who wanted to help us. So my second aim was also to make like a young independent film making family, and to feel like fulfilled, and to can live from it. But by now, I feel like I would like to continue making this somewhere else, because I feel like the way I want to work doesn't really work in Germany.
Okay. To the to add to that, and to speak to the question of the difficulty of pushing a new sort of filmmaking movement in Germany. I think, like, I love German Expressionism. I think there are.
Me too. We have a Metropolis poster.
It's up there, just out of frame.
I have Maria up here as well.
Yeah. So the silent era expressionism, really, really awesome, and so influential, and I don't know.
Which we also, sorry to interrupt, which we also used in our movie Leon Must Die. You can see some homages of German expression.
Yeah, we do sort of quote I think Nosferatu, and Metropolis too. So I really love that. But that was 100 years ago, and then the German people willingly ended that. And completely destroyed all they had in terms of film culture. And after that, until the new German film in the 60s, there was actually nothing that is worth mentioning at all. Now that I'm saying that, I'm contradicting myself in my head because there's a fun little story in between, but whatever, that's not important now. No, but like no interesting films were being made. And then the new German film came, and so these expressionist films were really big productions, like those were major blockbusters. And then the new German film, they started out as kind of independent, and then they actually pushed for state-sponsored filmmaking. I think most European countries have some kind of model like that. In Germany, that became the only mode available for financing a professional production. So while we officially do not have censorship, you cannot produce anything that doesn't get approved of by a board, that does not have to explain itself. They can just say yes or no, and that's it. They don't need to explain why they don't want some things. And I mean, while Fassbinder was alive and did his thing, apparently that worked kind of well. Then later on, there would be institutions like the Hamburg Film Bureau, where filmmakers like Christoph Schlingensief, who was more recent and sort of an interesting avant-garde filmmaker, he would get money there. So there would be these little instances of institutions where you could get this state-sponsored money and make interesting movies with that. But right now we are in a situation where it's actually the system is very, very stale. I think internationally, you always you will hear about like one film every 5 years, and those will be really standout productions. But those do not have anything to do with the actual German film industry. If you work here, you probably won't have worked on those films. The things we work on are very, very different. It all has to go through the state television, and well, there's problems with it, and especially there's not much creativity in that. In that, there are reasons for that, but that goes too far. But yeah, genre pictures, for example, do not get produced in Germany, and many people inside the German film industry get sort of restless and frustrated. I personally have worked professionally in German film and TV for about 10 years now, and I have not met one person who was happy with what they were producing. Not one person who said, I would personally watch what I earn money on. All those people will go around, and that's why those people are available for no and low budget productions, because everybody, like every camera guy I know, wants to make a horror film to sort of do something interesting with the camera for once. There is we're not the only ones in Germany who want to do something like that. There is a certain restlessness, and I mean that's why there has been this tiny mini movement that we have. Like there are I don't know, 5 or 6 filmmakers all around northern Germany who you could roughly count as part of the new Hamburg School, and we actually do share pretty striking similarities in style and tone. So yeah, we obviously we all want to do something genre adjacent, and yeah, so there is this restlessness. But on the other hand, not only all film production is centralized, but also every film festival and every cinema needs state funding to exist. So if you have a movie that is not made with state approval, you will not get into those at all. So what this whole DIY thing enables us to do for the first time in Germany, actually, because also the new German film, they were also funded from some point on, is to be actually independent, to have an actual independent film movement. Yeah, and I think that's one of the most distinctive things of the stuff we're doing, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really informative. Thank you, Lars. Yes, it's we don't hear about this so much, do we? If you're beyond an industry, or those of us who are receiving, say, German art films and independent films, or what we think of as independent. I mean, no film is independent, but they're called that, aren't they? If we're watching them, say, here in the UK, we would just assume that that's what it's like over there. We don't know all of that ins and outs, and who's actually on the ground working on those films, and are they making the work they want to make. So that's really an informative opinion to hear, for sure. And I'm just thinking as well, because you mentioned distribution and screening opportunities. So that must be a real point of frustration. But then the world is so global now with these virtual technologies, that you do seem to have done really quite well in getting out there, and maybe the festivals that you're getting into seem quite small, but that you're getting to them and you have that reach and you have these global audiences. That's amazing. But I'm really interested as well in those very domesticated screening arrangements that you have. I mean, it's very harks back to experimental cinema, and it makes me think of the New York scene in the 1960s, where everybody was watching everything in each other's attic spaces and things. It's so you've got that sort of lineage there as well, with experimental or underground type filmmaking that connects you to all these other artists. So that's just how they had to do it as well.
It's just wanted to add something. It's really funny that you mentioned the New York scene in the 60s, because I think 2 days ago we were talking about it, that was this should have been the time we should have lived in New York during the 60s, 70s. That would be our time.
Well, I have to boast for a second. Because you mentioned it, there is I mentioned Christoph Schlingensief before, who was a really for me, he was a big influence. He was this avant-garde filmmaker who is revered in Germany now that he's dead. And before, he was really hated, and he was like an enfant terrible and really funny guy. And he would be making these really experimental avant-garde films. And one of his main collaborators, Dietrich Kohlbrot, was actually he used to be a persecutor in Hamburg. He used to persecute Nazi war criminals, and then he retired and became an actor in those experimental films. He would visit our Obsessive Underground Film Festival, and once he said, "Well, this is just like it was back in the 70s."
That's so cool.
Yes, we printed that on posters and stuff for a while, because I was so proud.
He also played in our projects. He played himself in a web series we shot.
Yes, right. And he played a role in a comedy I made before.
Yeah.
Cool. That sounds really awesome. I was thinking as well, Nisan, if I could come to you for a moment as well, because I was thinking about your character in Leon Must Die, and what you were saying about your position as somebody from a Turkish background. And I mean, there's a history of this in German cinema as well, isn't there, with back in the 70s and so on, the 60s and 70s, with Turkish migrant workers who were brought into Germany. And Fassbinder's films try to deal with that quite a bit. And you're from a very different Turkish-German background, as I understand, and it's a much more contemporary, I suppose, version of being a Turkish person in Germany, if that makes sense. And it's it's I don't know, I just think I'm really very interested in that frustration you've had with being typecast, as you were saying, and how you've taken this by the horns, really, and tried to carve out another way of, well, I can't get the roles, but if I make the roles that are different, and I can be any other sort of character.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about this character from the future, who's slightly otherworldly, but only very slightly, because she is of Earth and she is of, she's just from the future, and what happens with her. So I was wondering if you would be happy to talk us through a bit more of that, because it's a really, I think it's a really important issue, to be fair, to, that, because I think with a lot of us in, sort of white Western societies, we're doing this too much to people, and people are just people, wherever they've come from and whatever their background is, and it's, I don't know, it feels very political what you're doing, because maybe you're doing it for fun, but I feel like it's a political statement at the same time. It feels quite powerful to me.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I can short tell my story. Well, there is a big Turkish community in Germany. I think the biggest minority community is the Turkish community, and most of them are Gastarbeiter, which I would translate as
Guest workers.
Mm-hmm.
They were,
I mean,
brought in as workers for, I think,
in the 70s.
yeah,
I
right,
think,
just as you said.
Yeah, like also in Fassbinder's movie Angst essen Seele auf. I think he was also a guest worker.
He was Moroccan, though.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
still. And my story is completely different. I was born in Istanbul, in a big city, very, very big Western city. And I didn't know about minorities. I mean, in Istanbul, in Turkey, there are minorities, which are the Kurdish people, Armenian people. And I didn't know anything about oppression. I mean, I was a child, and the Turkish people are in Turkey the people who oppress. So like my status in Turkey is I'm a white person there. So of course my parents, my family is very leftist. So of course I know, I learned what's wrong and what's right in their world. But I didn't know as a child what it is to be oppressed, even though I knew it was wrong what the Turkish people are doing because my father said so. So my mom is a translator, and it's a very stupid story, but it is how it was. My mom is a translator, and she translated a book by Philip Roth. Maybe you've heard of him. And in the book, the main character is a Jewish gay boy, I think, and he's an atheist also. And he's in his teenage years, so it's also, he has sexual thoughts. And she just translated it. And so she had issues because she translated this book in Turkish, from English to Turkish. And I mean, she was not about to go to jail, but because we were like from upper class, I say now, with she could have a lawyer to get herself out, but she had like really problems, and I didn't understood as a child. But it was like not really serious, but I think it made her really angry that she said she thought herself she doesn't want to live in this country anymore, and she doesn't want me to grow up in a country where you get problems with the with the law for translating a book because you you translate a story of a boy who is gay and who's Jewish. So I think it was also about principles. I think so she just did it. She took me, and we fled out of these political reasons to Germany. And I don't know how she did it, because like when I was little, I was so angry at her because I had this huge culture shock and this huge racism. I didn't, maybe I was too spoiled I didn't expect that, because I don't want to say that it's different in Turkey. It's different in my shoes in Turkey, but in Turkey people are being oppressed too. But for me, I couldn't handle it, and I was really angry at her for a really long time during puberty, because maybe also I was a teenager and I needed to be angry. But now I'm gonna be 30 in a month, and now I don't know how she did it, like all by herself, fleeing to a country she doesn't even know the language, and she doesn't have any help, and she did it, and she accomplished it. And I wanted to do art, movies, theater, even back when I was a little child in Turkey. All those interests, I don't know, it's developed when I was 6, 7. So it was always the plan. I always watched movies with my dad. I went to the theater with my dad, with my mom, and I went to a child acting school in Istanbul. So it was always the plan. But when I moved to Germany, first I had to learn a new language. Second, we were because we were immigrants, we were refugees, we couldn't choose where we want to live. So I was from this big city, and suddenly we were in a small town, in a village, where the racism and stuff is way worse than in a big city. I think maybe it wouldn't be that bad if we would, I don't know, go immediately to Berlin or Hamburg. I don't know, but that was really I just, now I can laugh about all those stuff, but I just wasn't expecting it. I just had this culture shock. And my mom was also, she accomplished it, that we were legal here, and then she went like on a depression, because she was like all by herself, and had to learn language, and I don't know, it was harder than maybe we expected, or maybe we didn't expect anything, we just wanted to flee. So I had, as a teenager, so many problems living in this village, but it was the plan. So when I was 17, I said to my mom, I mean, she said that to me for years, we have to leave this this village. So I went to the acting school, and with her together we moved to Hamburg. And then things started to get better for me also. So I was happy about being finally in a bigger city, and finally with more people who are maybe more interested in art or creative stuff. But and I think for that I was, I think with 18, 19 I had my first role, and I started working really young, and on my own, and I'm also proud of that. And like the first years I thought, okay, it's not that great to play the headscarf lady again. And I mean, the thing is, those roles are very cliche written and very discriminated without knowing. They think the writers are mostly 60 plus white men, German men who don't even, I don't know, I think if you write a story about immigrants, then you should be an immigrant. You can't tell. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell the story of, I don't know, of someone who suffers something I couldn't understand. Sure. Or it doesn't even have to be about suffering. It's you know. So first I thought, okay, I'm young, I'm in the beginning, and I will have to play those roles, and then I will get something better, and something I feel more fulfilled about. And then I was working in this business, and I thought, okay, but I don't watch anything I like. So there are, of course, maybe 2-3 movies or 1-2-3 German stuff I like, but it's very rare. and I thought, okay, if I can't find something as an audience I love as an audience, which was made now, not 100 years ago, then maybe this is it. I'm stuck in this Turkish Muslim roles, because I don't see any non-white actors playing roles without being commented on that they are non-white. So yeah, that's the whole story, and then we did together all these unique stuff, and Leon Must Die. You're right, since you mentioned this, I'm my role in Leon Must Die during shooting the scenes. I remember we always came with stuff like, there's the scene when she drinks beer for the first time. Leon gives her beer, and she doesn't know what it is because you don't have that in the future. And I don't know if it was on purpose, but there are so many tiny little stuff we came up on set. I know that feeling. I mean, of course, in Turkey you have beer or anything you also have in Germany. But what I know is what happens a lot, because 10 years is a big part of your development. Most people in my age who were immigrants, they were born here or they came here with 3 or 4. When you're 10, you are almost a teenager. You are, you know, some of your pop culture and blah. And I have this all the time where, like, my friends talk about something relevant 20 years ago, and they all laugh, and I don't know what they're talking about, because the first 10 years of my life I watched Turkish TV. I read and of course we all know American pop culture, British pop culture, because in Europe we all know English speaking stuff, but the German stuff I don't know. I don't know the songs. I don't understand the TV child TV series. So this is maybe what I have with Aqua in common, that we are from a different world, and some stuff we will not get.
Oh, thank you for that. Fascinating. Lars, do you have anything to add to any of that? Any thoughts or?
I mean, I could only add my my own thoughts on the kind of racist type casting that goes on German television. But I mean, you mentioned that, like, there would be anecdotes to tell. Like, just the other day, we heard about this film that was about like a Turkish woman growing up in Germany and then going to Turkey for the first time, and in Turkey there would be like this desert village, because we all know Turks live in uncultivated desert villages, and that leading role was played by a German actress, and it's just like all of that is just so wrong in such stupid ways that I think, come on guys, it's 2021. Where have you been these past at least 20 years? Like, if you haven't paid attention to Fassbinder, who I think did a great job of empathizing with those stories and telling an aspect of that he could understand. Like, if you haven't seen what he was doing, like, at least all the world has been discussing this for 10 to 20 years now. So why are we so far behind? But I mean, that would just add to frustrations. We're happy we're doing something else, I think.
Yeah,
that's it. Well, yeah, let's focus on that then. I mean, would you like to talk through how do you start a film project like Leon Must Die? You know, how do you get together and figure out those characters and who they're going to be? Because Leon has his own complexities as well in that film, for example. You know, and then the group of young women in the other film, I'm worried about getting the title's a bit mangled pronunciation, but the backgrounds that they're all coming from, because they're doing community service in the forest and that sort of thing. Where do these characters come from, and how do you all work together to create them?
I'm gonna
I'm
gonna go first.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go first because I mostly write the scripts. I work very closely with the actors for all of that. Like when we were developing Leon, I think Nisan and I had just started hanging out again, and I don't know. I was thinking about how to do a lo-fi science fiction project. I was still dreaming about getting into cinemas and making something that would sort of translate to a wider audience. So I was thinking about how can I use genre to do that, so that was on my mind. And then I think we just had a really long conversation about death, because that's the fun guy I am. And I basically just took that conversation, which was really long, and turned it into a script. So there would be these two characters in its center, which I think Aqua is Nisan and Leon is not me, but there would be a lot of the stuff in there that we had discussed. And so that's how that sort of came about. So I, in that sense, worked with Nisan to come up with it all. And then for Bear Kittens and later Perfomaniacs, actually we started working with this acting school, like Nisan said, and that was I was a teacher there. And I get sort of bored with teaching acting and not doing anything. So I started developing characters with the students. And I had originally planned, this was Nisan's idea too, to make short films with them, so they could use that for their demo reels. And then in case of the Bear Kittens group, we quickly realized, all right, this is not a short film. This is possibly a feature. And I mean, they came up with their characters. They would I had different exercises to improvise and to come up with characters intuitively, plus with characters that would fit them and would be what they would need in a demo reel too. And then I would have them improvise with each other and come up with scenes, and then slowly we would all see, all right, this is a possible setting. Like all the characters you came up with would probably do community service at some point. They're all pretty antisocial, and then we would put the characters in situations together and see how do these interact, and then we would think, all right, you two make an interesting comedic duo, so let's think about that. And I think we had half a year. That it was really luxurious in case of Bear Kittens. We had half a year of just playing around, and then I would go and have seen all this stuff they would have come up with themselves, and then I would just write the script according to that. And it was more compressed with the next thing we did with that school, with Perfomaniacs, but it's really similar too. Then we made a web series together, also called The Acting Students. We worked a lot with that school to fund our projects, where we would have them improvise all their dialogue on set, and then I would just go, okay, now that thing you said was funny, do that again. So yeah, from this very close work with the actors on their characters and dialogue, I think. I mean, I like that, and I like the results.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. So I mean, I've only managed to see trailers of a lot of the films. I haven't managed to see them entirely, but yes, it comes across that. Yeah, I don't know. There's just I think I quite like that. There's a lot of emphasis on the female characters, and they don't feel like necessarily the stereotypes. They are quite rounded, and that there's personalities coming through. And it seems that you talk about genre, and it seems that the films have genre mashup, so they're very clearly they're this and they're this, and there's I don't know if it's a clash or if that's the right word, but they mash quite, maybe, I don't know, violently, or just depends, but there's something very clearly, right, this is a comedy and it's sci-fi, or this is a dance film and it might go into horror as well, and I mean, those aren't necessarily, that exists in the world, but there's something a little bit, just a different direction that you're going in. So I suppose if people we'll put up the links with show notes and things and on our socials, and just send people to go and watch them for themselves and see what they think. Are those interactions with genre, are those very conscious, or you tell me what you're doing with those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you should, because you write the scripts.
Okay. Yes and no. By now it's all very conscious. But I used to start from a point where I thought, I'm gonna write mostly a horror movie now.
Okay.
And it's gonna be really, really creepy. But then I am most interested, I think, in characters and characters interacting, and I always find a lot of humor in that, and I like when the characters are funny. So then a straight horror film becomes sort of a difficulty. Like when we made Performaniacs, I think watching it now, it's hard to believe that I did set out to make a scary horror film, and then I was on set, and there was a moment where I realized I'm on set of a horror film, and I'm just rearranging the actresses so their interaction will be more funny. What am I doing here? Because I don't know, like most genre conventions sort of push you to emphasize on plot more than on character, and I love plots, but I think I love character more, and I like to go with the with whatever comes from the characters, and so from there I always tend to leave the genre boundaries somewhat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I suppose with you, Nisan, for you, it's more playing those characters and bringing them to life. And how does that feel for you? I mean, I know we spoke quite a bit earlier, but are you achieving that difference that you want to achieve, do you think, with the characters?
You mean the difference between me and the characters?
Or so the different from the sorts of roles you would get in a more industrial setting?
Yeah. For example, when we made the series, the big project we talk about, first the plan was I'm gonna play one of the main roles and I'm not gonna do anything else. But then we did everything. So I was playing one of the main roles, and I was also organizing like everything behind the set. And I thought, okay, I'm not going to be able to act. I'm not going to be able to be good at it. And I was kind of frustrated. But because I was also production-wise so into this project, I knew like the script by heart. I knew everything. I knew the lines of everyone and myself. And I knew because we were also going through the script so many times, we changed so many stuff, we showed it to so many different people, and we listened to so many different people. And I think during that process, I understood the story and the character, I hope, so well because of all my production work, that I was the role for these 2 years. I feel like I was also, once we finished the series, we both went into a like black hole for a couple months, and I was thinking about it, that I was a little bit like the role during this 2 years, because I was I don't know, I was a little bit childish during this 2 years, because she was way younger than me, and like she was this punky teenager, and I feel like I acted like a angry punky teenager during those 2 years, because I was so mad at everything during production. So I think it happened without being on purpose, but like the German industry jobs I get, it depends. Most of the time, as we said, they don't want creativity. You get the script like a week ago, and sometimes it can also happen that they change the script like 2 days ago. You just have to learn it really fast. And I'm really sorry, but most of the time those scripts are really shallow. And I don't even mean it personal. I don't even think that the writers are so bad or whatever. I just think that everyone has to work on a system, and there are rules. And also as an actor, I think on a more creative stage or film project, I'm better than on these projects. So I don't want to attack anyone personally, but those scripts are very shallow, and there's nothing in it to, so I give my best on those projects too, because I like to, I always like playing. I don't care. Even if I think this is shit, I have my fun. It doesn't frustrate me that much, like the networking, the everything around that. But there is a huge difference if I play a role which I believe in it, and if I play a role because I have fun and I need some money, and I'm being the Turkish gangster daughter. Oh, I'm going to be the suffering headscarf girl. It's fun, but it's, it doesn't mean like everything. So yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, gosh, you're both working so hard on everything. Is there anything else that you would really like to use this opportunity to talk about or to put out into the world? Is there anything you want us to know about what you're doing?
Yeah, I think, there's so much stuff. The movies, we are of course happy if people go and watch it. They're all on Amazon Prime. The first three, Leon Must Die, Berkitans, and Perfomaniacs. Also, we made another feature during lockdown with three actors and Christian. We will release it this year, and I think it's gonna be really good. But like our main heart project is the series. F60 Kamikaze is the name. It cost our 3 years of our lives. It's still costing it. Many people helped us, like without being paid, because we didn't have money for the project. Me and Lars had like took credits for this project so we can make it happen. We are in deep debt. And there are like, I don't know, I think hundreds people behind F60 Kamikaze. So it's not only about us. There are so many people who deserves it. And there were so many doors which were closed, shut right into our face. We tried like everything to find a place for this project. And as we told before, we are working right now on it to publish it as soon as we can, but we also want it to be great. So just, I don't know, people who listen to this should Google F60 Kamikaze immediately. And once it's published, go watch it. I think it's going to be really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, we always have so many things going on, so it's always hard to point people to all of them. I have recently quit social media and started my own website. It's www.larshenriks in one word.de, and everything we do basically is collected there. There's the movies, and I write there daily because I'm a nerd. And also, we've just started a podcast in English just a couple of weeks ago. It's called Mysterium Pictorum, and it's on the Lars Henriks Podcast International, because I'm a narcissist. Just where I collect all the English language podcast projects we ever do. Lars Henriks Podcast International. It's on all the platforms, and we have this English language podcast where once a week we watch a movie. I once found a hard drive containing 300 weird, obscure, mostly art house movies, and we're going through that hard drive, watching one movie per week, and then talking about it. Yeah, we plugged a lot here.
If you ever want to do a mashup of our podcasts, doing something like that would be fun.
Yeah, definitely. We can send you the list of films coming up. Fantastic. And if you like any one of them, just tell us, and then we'll do a cooperative episode.
I'd love that.
Yeah, we'd love that too. Awesome. I'm gonna send that to you right after.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Sounds great. Oh, thank you both so much. That's great. It's great to have your website as well, Lars, and I'll make sure that's in our show notes, and I'll send people that way, and I'll make sure I send the links, because apart from anything, you need the support, and filmmakers like you really need the support. So everybody go and watch these films. They're really not expensive on Amazon as well. If you've got Prime, I guess, and you'll be able to access them easily enough too. So I think unless there's anything else, Lars Henriks and Nisan Arakan, I can't thank you enough. This has been such a fun hour talking to you, and I've learned loads, and it's been so lovely to meet you. Just thank you both so much for being so generous with your time and your ideas.
Thank you so much for having us.
Likewise. Thank you so much for your time and everything.
Yeah, and really good luck with all your projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm really looking forward to our collaboration on Mysterium Pictorium.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.